Meet Codename Goose, your on-machine open-source AI agent, built to automate your tasks. Codename Goose is an intelligent and autonomous agent capable of handling complex tasks thanks to its core features. Connect with apps and tools you already use with extensions. Built on the Model Context Protocol, you can connect to extensions like GitHub, integrate JetBrains IDEs, access Google Drive, or build your own custom integrations for Goose. For a curated list of extensions, visit our docs. With a wide range of compatible large language model providers, you can choose and integrate your preferred model. You can also run Goose as a desktop app or through the command line interface using the same configurations across both. You can think of Goose as an assistant, ready to take your instructions and do the work for you. Able to handle a wide range of tasks across various engineering domains. Here are examples of tasks Goose has helped people with already. Goose has helped dive into a new project in an unfamiliar coding language, conduct code migrations such as Ember to React or Ruby to Kotlin, increase code coverage, and even generate unit tests for a feature, and much more. To get started using Goose right away, check out our quick start and be the first to know about upcoming features by joining our community.
Hello, happy day before Halloween to everyone watching. My name is Emma. I'm a senior technical writer at Block.
And I'm Tanya, senior technical community manager here at Block for Block Open Source and Goose. Nice to be here for the day before Halloween.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. So this stream is about documentation, specifically Goose helping me to document Goose. So as a technical writer, I work on a lot of the Square documentation, the API and SDK docs here at Block, but also Goose. So working on our open source AI agent, you just saw an introduction for. And so yeah, today I have a bunch of tickets open to talk about new features in Goose that need to be documented. The dev team works super hard and comes up with new features, bug fixes all the time. And so we need to document them and make sure that they're available for open source folks to learn how to use all these great features. So yeah, I guess I'll just get right into it. Tanya is here to help out with the stream. If any of you folks in chat have any questions, she can ask them, answer some of them, ask me them. If you've got questions for me, happy to interact with folks. So yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah.
So sharing my screen. So right now I've got open VS Code editor with a terminal, and I've got Goose open in the desktop. I prefer using Goose desktop, and it's asking me, what would you like to tackle? I'd like to tackle my to-do list, Goose. And so I've got some tickets here that my tech lead, Rizal, made for me. And I am very fortunate because these tickets are very good, lots of information in them. But as technical writers, any folks in chat are tech writers, you know that often our tickets, the tasks that we have are not are not usually this good. They're usually a lot more vague. So I've already spent some time familiarizing myself with the features that we're documenting. We're working on subagents today. So we already have a lot of really good information on subagents, a lot of good documentation, but now there's new features that are coming out. So I need to document. Let's just get a lay of the land here.
So as you're getting into it, quick question, like now that you have, you've been getting familiar with the new features, and how are you thinking you're going to start using Goose to do this?
Yeah, so typically for docs, I still do a lot of my writing just by myself, like with my brain. A lot of what I ask Goose for is like rewriting certain sections. I usually will have a good flow going, and then I'll think like, oh, this wording is really awkward. Like, how can I fix it? So I ask Goose a lot on the fly, like, how can I fix this one sentence or this paragraph? Like, I'm using this word too much in this paragraph. Help me revise it.
Okay.
For documentation specifically, especially if I have access to an open source project and I have the repo available, I'll just let Goose loose and say, here's the features, here is the full repo, here's your source code. Tell me about this feature. Tell me what you can find. So yeah, I think I'm going to start off with that. Like I mentioned, a lot of times the tickets that tech writers will get are not as robust as the ones that Rizal is writing for me. So I'm just going to look at what I've got. So extension control is a new feature. I need to make a note that Goose might automatically use subagents even if you're not prompting for it. Document the timeouts and limits for Goose, for subagents specifically. And then talk about return mode. So this is whether subagents return their full conversation or just a summary. And in the ticket, there's specific callouts to points in the source code where this is covered. But again, I'm just going to ask Goose to get started and see what it finds out. So I'm already in the development/Goose folder. So I tell Goose.
So as you're doing it, I find it very interesting just because it is, I don't know if it's necessarily a hot topic, but people are definitely always talking about, when it comes to AI and using it for documentation, people may sometimes assume like, oh, you're using AI to document everything and you're not touching anything. When the reality that we're seeing here with your workflow is, you'll still write the documentation, but you'll work with Goose as kind of, somebody to help you with either, reviewing it, getting quick feedback on stuff that you may be stuck on. So it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love the quick feedback, and especially with working with code, I sometimes think of Goose as like Stack Overflow that you can ask follow-up questions to. Obviously, you can do that with Stack Overflow as well, but I'm not usually one who's like posting the questions and then like posting, like asking for help on Stack Overflow. But I will, read Stack Overflow a lot, and then I will ask Goose for help with coding, and then say, oh wait, what did you mean by this? What does this piece do? And I really love that back and forth. Okay, so I'm telling Goose this is the repo for the Goose source code. I need to update the documentation for subagents. Write me some short documentation following features. And then what did I say? Extension control and limits and return mode. And then I'll be really specific. I like being really specific and explicit when I am talking to Goose, just to avoid it trying to figure out what it thinks that I mean. Following features related to subagents. And then write me some short documentation for the following features related to subagents. And something that I am always concerned about is hallucinations or Goose just like making things up. And so one of my tips for trying to avoid that or getting it to actually cite its source is to tell it, show me the specific pieces of source code where you got your information. For each topic, share the code samples in the repo. Each share the code samples in the repo where you found your information. What else do I need to say? Oh yeah, don't edit any files yet. Just share the results here in the chat. So I don't know. Eventually, I want to have Goose actually edit the documentation for me. But right now, I just want to see what it figures out and what it tells me, and then I can use that to inform where I go from there. So I'm asking about extension control, timeouts and limits, and return mode, specifically as it relates to subagents, and then share the code samples, and then tell me what it finds. And let's see what happens. So it's going to analyze the repository to understand the subagent features, and now it's going through the code to find out information about subagents.
Cool. So this is a way to, I mean, this is like now Goose is essentially doing the digging and showing you like what's actually in Goose. Like in addition to, you know, obviously you have the issues assigned to you and there's like detail there, but this could be that way you get that detail in the first place, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that some of my coworkers have recipes as well to look through the most recent PRs in Goose and find out like, okay, what new features were implemented, what bug fixes came up, what documentation will I need to write in the future. Just keep me informed. And that is very necessary because, like I said, the devs work really hard on Goose, and there's a lot of new features coming, a lot of work being done.
It's awesome. It's very interesting how the experience can continue to evolve like pretty quickly, and features can change. And it's really useful to be able to ask Goose, take a look. Oh, I see a result there.
Yeah, here we go. All right, some documentation already. Agents could support fine-grained control over which extensions are available. I wouldn't say that's what it supports it, yes. Okay, so it's showing me where, which file it's getting this information. And specified in the recipe. Although, okay, so use specific extensions, set extensions, empty array, but that's not what the actual end user would be doing. So it looks like you can customize the limit using this environment variable. That may be true, but my understanding of the tickets and from my own testing the other day was that one of the nice things about subagents is that you don't have to edit config files. You can just ask for what you want with natural language.
Yeah.
So my impression from what I'm getting from Goose is that Goose is right. I mean, Goose did what I asked it to. It wrote me some documentation, but I didn't specify who the user is. I said, oh, write me some documentation for how this source code works, but not how it would actually be used in by a user of Goose and not a developer of Goose. So I'm going to complain to management and say, this looks...
That's actually a really important distinction. I find myself not automatically thinking about. Like, I'm not necessarily working on the documentation myself, but I find myself referencing them, obviously, when it comes to answering questions. But let's answer this question from the audience really quickly from Angie. She asked, can you explain how you give Goose the context about itself? Like, do you point it to its repo? That's a great question.
Yeah, Angie, that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm making sure that I'm in the Goose repo here. This is where it is on my machine. And I've already cloned the Goose open source repo and made sure that I've pulled the latest changes. And so that's where Goose is working right now. So it's looking through its source code. And then at the beginning, I also prompted it. I told it, this is the repo for Goose source code. So I give it a little heads up about what it's working on. How would a user of Goose desktop or Goose CLI?
Do you find as you are replying or following up with, in the chat, when you are working from, the repo itself, like the folder, the directory, right? Versus if you ask Goose this, you could technically do it while not being in that directory. Like, what happens then?
So I'll sometimes, work in different directories, or I'll say, oh, I have some files over here that I want you to mess with, or migrate over here. And then I'll specify the actual file path in my prompt and in the description. I think sometimes Goose is pretty good about like figuring out where you want to go. Like if I say, oh, I have this, look in this folder on my desktop, it'll figure out the file path. But I, again, like to be really, really explicit. And I'll just say, okay, I'm working in this repo right here, but over in, users, E. Yen Smith, documents, blah, blah, blah. That's where I want you to see this. So I'm kind of a stickler. I want to be really specific, but
Yeah.
Goose is pretty good at, figuring out what you need.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what it came up with. Where was my last? So I asked it for how would a user of Goose Desktop or Goose CLI use these features? You are absolutely right. It explains what subagents are. Yeah, and this is specifically still looking at changing the dynamic task tool, which a user would not be doing. That's what Goose is
Can you
doing.
zoom in a tiny bit? Like,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, so this specifically, how to control extensions. You don't specify which extensions. Goose does.
So Goose is quite literally telling you how the feature works, but it's not necessarily going to discern between, at least maybe ahead of you specifying maybe like what it's actually doing under the hood versus what the user can expect to actually, experience.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna point that out to Goose and say specifically, like, I think. My understanding is that users, like someone using Goose Desktop, don't edit any files to control subagents. They just interact with natural language. Is this true? I want Goose to think about it. And it's going to tell me that I'm absolutely right. As it usually does. But that's also usually true. So works out. Yeah, let me check the prompt template, because so in our existing documentation for subagents, which I was reading before now, it is pretty clear and pretty straightforward that you do just use natural language. Just ask for subagents, ask for what you want. Check the system prompt, so it's going deep.
So before you start prompting Goose, would you say it's necessary that you understand the feature already, or can you also start working with Goose in this way to learn about the feature for the first time?
Yeah, you can absolutely start just prompting Goose to learn about the feature. I've definitely used that when I've been working on tickets that don't have as much information, or are just like, brand new features that someone, just pushed the PR. I'm not sure how they work. I'm asking Goose. And then I use those same ideas of asking it for show me like the source code, where it got its information. And then I'll do testing as well. So I did work on some stuff with subagents the other day. And just prompting it through natural language. So I'm I'm already pretty confident that I am right. Goose is wrong here.
So a good follow-up to that is a question from the chat from Will. Where should a non-technical person start with learning how to use Goose, learn the capabilities of Goose, and use it efficiently and effectively to vibe code from that perspective?
Great question. I think this YouTube channel is a great resource. Certainly watching any of the other like Vibe Code with Me live streams or the specific videos where people or my coworkers are covering other topics in Goose and learning how to do like make specific apps or work with specific features. I think this is a great introduction. And then like most things, just diving in and trying it out. Ask it to do any coding projects that you have or work on optimizing your desktop, your file system, lots of things. But
there's actually maybe a good resource I can share from the doc site so you can have an example. Because as either a non-technical or maybe in case you mean a non-developer perspective, or just even if you are a developer, but maybe you're just new to Goose, as you're saying, we do have resources like this prompt library. Let me share this here. Along with our recipe cookbook, which is awesome. Let me share that as well. So what you can find here are example workflows and prompts that people are, using and have submitted today, currently, and try them out yourself so that you can get a feel for how Goose actually works too. So that way, because sometimes I myself might get stumped, to even think like, oh, okay, use a tool like this to organize your desktop or something. But what if I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that? So.
Yeah, great point.
Let's see. And he did mention non-developer. Okay. I figured. But yeah. So let's see. What are we at now with Goose?
So it went deep, but it figured out that, again, I was absolutely correct. Users don't write JSON. They don't edit anything for subagents, for extension control. It's giving me some good info. Just automatically decides which extension each subagent needs based on your request. Is that completely true? So the information I'm getting, yes, default subagent gets all parent session extensions. You don't need to specify this unless you want to. So I think it's not completely true that Goose will just decide which extensions to give it. By default, it'll inherit, the subagent will inherit all the extensions that are used by the main session. Let's see, what is return mode? Maybe a better way would be to split this out into sections and have Goose focus only on one thing. So I think for the next step, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read through what it tells me about return mode. Sends you everything it did, or just a summary that is also my understanding and what I got from testing.
So what you're doing right now is deciding what piece of documentation to maybe start with, because yes, you're exploring this feature, but when it's extensive a feature like this and something new, you might be deciding where to start. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, the documentation that it gives me a really good jumping off point. And then especially it'll also give me specific prompts, like example prompts. And then I'll often use those as jumping off points to then, okay, let me practice this. What is something that I can use subagents for? And then let me go into another session and try that out. So I was doing some more of that testing yesterday with some of my other doc projects.
Mm-hmm.
And then typically I'll take what it gives me and then look at the existing docs and then use, my own just, human skills to figure out, okay, which section goes where, how can I tweak this wording? Because usually I don't love the specific wording that Goose comes up with. So I'll, wordsmith back and forth with it. But for this live stream, I feel like let's go a little nuts and try having Goose just add to the documentation. And so it's giving me, I didn't point it towards the existing subagents documentation yet. But that is going to be, and so it just wrote like brand new documentation for me here. Remember, you're having a conversation with Goose. Just describe what you want in natural language. So this is nice, but I actually want to integrate it into what we have already. So now I'm going to say, and I'm going to start just like batch it. So let's start with the extension control and tell it, okay. And in our actual documentation, so this is in VS Code. I just have open the Goose source code, and the documentation is under documentation. Surprise, I believe. Oh, and also first I want to switch to a new branch because I will actually be editing files. I suppose I could have Goose do this as well, but I'm just used to doing it manually.
I like to sometimes just check out a new branch on my own to start with sometimes, just so I remember that I started on it, and then let Goose operate on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it's version control, so there's not real, like I'm not going to break anything by making changes on main, but
yeah,
I'm paranoid and I don't want to do that, so. Okay, so thankfully, this makes it a little bit easier. We have one main subagents doc with a whole bunch of information. We might want to look at like the information architecture of this eventually, especially since I'm like adding more information about new features. We might want to split this up into different topics eventually. But I personally like having, one page of documentation where here's all the information on subagents. Like that's nice for me, and I think nice for Goose as well, so it only has to read one topic. Okay, I'm gonna tell Goose and I'm being really explicit. I'm gonna say work on the MOY/agents docs October branch. And what was the first thing? The extension control. And then again, I want to be really explicit because I don't want Goose just like making its own new subagents docs. So where can I find this? This is under documentation /docs/guide/subagents. The MDX. One of my greatest wishes for the Goose dev team is to have tabbed autocomplete for file names. I think that's probably like tricky to do, but that'd be really nice.
That'd be cool. So is this something that if you find like you're doing a similar process over and over, that's where you can then make a recipe out of this?
Yeah.
Like so kind of the process of it?
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I really like asking Goose to do is make its own recipes. So if I'm doing something, that I know that I'll do a lot. I was just working on this the other day for a release process. Like, okay, I go through these steps for Square releases every month. And I just made a recipe where it's like, okay, every month I'm going to go in and run this recipe and ask for the same kind of thing, find the same kind of information, and then share it back with me. And that's really nice.
Awesome. Thank you for answering. And then I'll answer this question, like for those links again in chat. Let me just put them up on the screen, and then I will also copy and paste them for you into the chat so you have them. If you just go to block.github.io/goose, like that's our doc site, that's where you will find these resources. But let me share this with you.
All right, and what I'm doing here, so I'm telling it to update the documentation for subagents. So I'm specifying which Git branch to work on, and I'm saying I want to start with just the extension control feature. The existing doc is right here. I'm giving it the file path, and then I'm saying don't make any commits yet. Just share the changes you made here in the chat. I want to review your work before moving on to the next feature. And this is, I really like doing that because otherwise I've learned the hard way. If I say, edit some files and we're working on a Git branch, it's going to be like, okay, I made a bunch of changes to these files and then I made a PR and now all of your coworkers know what I did. And it's not always what I want. So I'm giving it, stopping points. Work on this and then show me what you did. Show your work.
Show the proof. But that's cool. And if you could zoom in just a little as it's running, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, and I've got the page open. We'll see if it makes any notable changes.
You could probably zoom in in the IDE as well a little bit.
In here?
At least for when you're zooming in on some, when you're showing something. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we probably don't need to see the folders on the left.
Yeah.
I know I like to see them when I'm working on stuff. I don't know why. I just like the assurance or reminder of what folder I'm in sometimes, but
yeah,
just for the viewers.
It's like a map, like, wait, where am I right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so it did make these changes to subagents.mdx.
Okay.
So it updated how to use subagents, added a bullet point, control access. Okay, now I love the diff feature in Git, and I think there's actually a way to do it in VS Code, but I think I can also ask Goose. Show.
I don't find myself doing Git anything anymore because I just ask Goose to do it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I feel like Goose has done this for me before. Show me a visual representation of what you changed, because this list is not helpful. Also, I don't think people in the chat want to just watch me read a bunch of stuff. There we go. Visual diff summary. Love it. So it added is how to use subagents. Fixed a typo.
Oh my God, I found a typo.
Nice.
Wow.
Wait, I'm not even seeing what the typo was.
Wait.
Were there too many?
Is it the plus?
I think this is saying it removed this, but then it added this.
Yeah, and there's no difference.
That's exactly the same.
Okay.
Goose is updating its hype doc. Like, yeah, I fixed all these.
Yeah,
typos.
I fixed this.
It added its own typo and then fixed it. Okay, a major new section for extension control. So where is that? Okay, and let's read this. And I definitely set up, okay. Extensions give Goose access to different capabilities. Developer extension for coding or computer controller for web automation. I don't know if this is necessary because we definitely are already aware of extensions. We have lots of docs on extensions, and I think we're talking about extensions up here, but it's always nice to have, a summary before a section.
So as you're reviewing it, something I wanted to note too, like obviously it may like whether or not it's exciting to watch somebody read, I'm not going to comment on that, but
Yeah.
it is actually very helpful and insightful to see the way that you are reading it and referencing the existing documentation there and like how to then, review and change it if you need to.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like especially when you're adding to existing documentation, you also have to think about like what people are already familiar with. What context do you need to give? What context can you leave out? Usually being less wordy is good. Like communicate as much as you can in as few words as possible, especially for technical writing. We know that people are skimming. They want like the information as fast as possible and then to get on with what they're doing. So being aware of that while also sharing the important information is so crucial. And that's the give and take of technical writing.
Right.
So this is true. So agents inherit all extensions from your main session by default. I like this. And even this is kind of tricky for me to read. I want to see this in the docs as well. So I'm just going to build them.
Yeah, let's see that.
That's because yarn is not a command. Okay, yarn start to build the docs. And anyone, start not found. How is that possible? Okay, what got messed up here?
Oh, is it like warp or something?
Could be, but I'm definitely connected.
But do you have to like turn it off? Well, I don't know if you want to turn it off for this. I don't remember. For building preview. Oh, did I just lose you for a second? Oh, okay, you're good.
So what I'm trying to do right now is spin up a test like staging site for the Goose docs so I can preview them on the website on the web. I'm trying to reinstall yarn.
So as you're doing that, a question from chat. What are the minimum requirements that a computer must have to be able to use Goose? I have a 2020 M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte internal SSD. I don't know that it's so much. I don't know if you know offhand how much, like how heavy Goose is in terms of running it. But it's usually about like the processes that you are doing, like with the LLM that you are using, how many tokens you are using up. 16 gigabytes of RAM is not bad. Like it's pretty decent actually. But it depends on what you're doing. I wouldn't say that Goose itself is necessarily intensive. Maybe when you're first like downloading it from the, internet wise, but.
Okay, I figured out the issue. I was in the Goose directory and not the documentation directory.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to build from the documentation directory. Silly me.
CD documentation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm on localhost. So this is the preview. What am I working on? Managing sessions. Nope. Subagents. Here we go. Okay. And we are in the extension control. So this is the brand new section that Goose wrote for me. Let me confirm.
Okay, can you zoom in a tiny bit?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So this is what Goose wrote.
Yeah.
That's so much nicer to see it in the preview for sure.
I know,
It's just
isn't it?
so much more like, you know, how people actually read it.
Specify what it needs, only access to code editing tools. So I think don't give it access to any files or tools. I'm wondering if create a subagent that only has access to code editing tools is sufficient, or if we have to specifically like name the extensions that we want Goose to use. When using recipes, you can explicitly define what extensions the subagent should use. That is true. Recipe, these will override the parent session's extensions. Empty sessions extensions means the subagent will run with minimal capabilities. That sounds correct. What else did Goose do? Goose did not remove anything. Fixed a typo. Oh yeah, removed extra quote marks in an example. Okay, so that was a typo there. Some stats. Did a default settings table. Where was that table? Okay. And now it's the part of the live stream where I'm just thinking, like, hey, I think this is sufficient.
Yeah, describe what you're thinking about. Like, now that you're reading through this, like, what are some of the first thoughts coming to mind? Like, what are you looking for? Or is there anything you're looking to change?
Yeah, so I specifically want to know in this section, specify what the subagent needs. Do you have to be really explicit about what extensions you want the subagent to use, or can you just let it infer like only access to code editing tools? And you know what? I will maybe just ask Goose this.
Yeah.
Given more time, I would probably also like spend some time running some subagents and doing some other work to practice it out. But I also want to focus on the documentation for now.
Well, how about like, what is an example of something you'd spin up in the background?
So yesterday I was doing this for migrating some docs. Sometimes when I'm just testing, I like, to be honest, I like make little like toy apps or just like find some like simple idea to make a subagent for. And let me let me just ask Goose. Or should I ask it to spin up a subagent? Okay. What if I ask it to make a subagent to write the next part of the documentation and then also test this out?
You could, but just to like specify for the audience, like when you spin up a subagent, what does that mean?
Oh, so that just specifically means asking Goose to make a subagent. So like Goose, your main session, like what I'm in right now is your like main agent. And if you say, okay, make a subagent to go do this thing, Goose will create a new session kind of behind the scenes and then report back to you. Like it'll go off and like make a new Goose session and do the thing that you asked. And then come back in the main session and tell you, here's what I did. Or based on the new feature to document return mode, you can either say, show me everything, show me the full text of the preview of the subagent session, or just give me the high level summary of what you did.
So you choose. Do what you would naturally do next.
Okay. Yeah, let me.
My cats are starting to harass me.
Let me try spinning up a subagent to write new documentation while also testing out this feature. Okay, so what did I want to know? Whether whether I have to specify the actual extension name. Okay.
Okay. Oh, also wanted to let chat know, because I know we're almost at the top of the hour here. If you have any follow-up questions in general about anything Emma is doing, or just about Goose, or just want to chat with other community members or the dev team directly, you can head over to our Discord. So be sure to hop in. And there's actually also another kind of community chat going on in there as well, which let me check out if there are any. Oh, there are some questions. Let me just show some of these. Thank y'all for asking some questions over there. Let me pull that up. Where is it? Open chat. Oh, this is a nice question. I'll put it just here. Okay, so related to documentation in general, specifically for Goose, I guess. New to Goose, very excited about it. When it comes to documentation, which is the first source of truth, GitHub or Goose documentation on the website, especially for Windows users?
First source of truth. So I would like to say the Goose documentation, of course. Probably GitHub, because that is, the full source code. Here's what Goose is actually doing. And then documentation gets updated based on, new features, new changes that come out. For Windows users, I have not spent a ton of time. I've not spent any time trying to use Goose on Windows, full disclosure. But our doc team is definitely working on those docs. We have documentation for Windows users that does get updated very frequently when people testing it find information on figure out new things that need to change. Things get updated. So I would say, the GitHub, the Goose source code is the source of truth for sure in what Goose does specifically, but we do our best to keep the documentation as up to date as possible with all these new features.
Yeah, and if you ever see something, I would say it's pretty rare, but if you ever see something is missing, or maybe a part of the documentation could be updated in a way that, you find could make more sense for everybody, you can always, open up a PR on GitHub or start a discussion about it in the Discord too, just to ask about it. But yeah, we definitely update, I would say weekly. Pretty much as soon as there are releases coming,
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so this is interesting. So I asked it to create a subagent with only code editing tools to test whether you have to be explicit about the extension names. And the first try, Goose did not create it correctly. So that's interesting, but it tried again. And then it created this task with task parameters, and it actually showed me the instructions that it gave the subagent, which is pretty cool. And maybe it just got the formatting wrong here. But it specified to itself that you use the developer extension, because I just asked for subagent access to code editing tools. So that's good. That tells me through testing that you don't have to be Goose will infer which extensions you mean if you say only give it access to certain things. And then it'll also tells me what it did, return mode control. And now I can refresh this, and it added this new section as well. And it gave a user-friendly explanation.
So you can truly, I didn't realize how much, because I'm still understanding subagents also through this live stream as you're documenting it. Didn't realize you can control how much you actually receive from it, because maybe you don't want all the full details back.
Yeah, so this just gave me the summary of changes, and this, return mode, this is what I'm documenting right now. Use natural language to specify what level of detail you want. Subagent, debug this issue. I want to see the full investigation process. So this is very, very robust. I think in terms of now I'm less so writing this documentation. Now I'm just editing it. I would probably take out some of these examples. Like these are good examples, but I think you get the gist of it pretty much. When to use each mode. This is helpful.
Because sometimes does it feel like, editing is a different thing than having to spin and write all of this up yourself and then start editing, right?
Oh yeah, very much so. And like I mentioned, my typical workflow is more writing myself rather than editing. But I wanted to see what Goose would do and what Goose would produce for this live stream. And when I am editing Goose, a lot of what I'm doing is like cutting out words. Like, all right, no, we don't need all this. We don't need all these examples. I love a good example, but this is too much.
Right.
This is already a very long topic. Let's cut it down, Goose. So I think so after this, a lot of what I'm going to be doing is editing and cutting. But this is all good information. And I do love, like I mentioned, how Goose will go really deep and like tell you everything you want to know. If you got follow-up questions, like you can ask it. It'll give you way more information than you need, but then you can figure out, here's what I care about. Here's what I'm going to use and put into practice. Like, love that. Gave me this information. All right. And then I think I'm going to keep using those subagents to test subagents itself. I do like how, it just gave me the summary. Maybe for the next one, I'm going to ask it. Yeah. What was the next section? Timeouts and limits. Yeah. In the last couple minutes, I'm not going to spend time editing that quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, okay. What do I say? Like the full analysis, the full conversation. Yeah. Like the full.
Do you find that having the subagents run these tasks in the background for you within this one session like saves you more time than before them? Like not in a I don't know. I'm just curious what your experience has been, like how it has maybe shifted with the addition of subagents.
Yeah, it definitely saves me clutter in the session. So I will often some people will work with like one session over and over again and keep coming back to it and keep like asking questions and working on different things. I like to create new sessions for like every project, but then I'll also go back pretty often and say like, oh, I was working on this, like what did we find out over here? Like, let me go back to that session. And sometimes like, let me go back to that session and open it up and keep going where I was before.
Yeah.
And then, or I'm like scrolling back. And so at the beginning, so this is already got a lot of info here. Like it's doing a lot of stuff right in the session here. Whereas with subagents, I can say, go do something and then just give me the report. Don't show me all the tool calls. Of course,
right.
In this instance, I am asking it to show me the full conversation because I'm curious and I want to test this feature. But I like using subagents is nice because your current context window isn't cluttered.
That's cool. Yeah, I just figure, since we're using Goose to, essentially document itself and new features, and with the focus on subagents, I thought it'd be cool to explain because it is really like very handy to be able to work within one window when you really want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Ace in chat. Also, I want to say hi to everybody. I realized Angie joined earlier along with Alan and Will. Thank you all for coming and tuning in.
Yeah, hi everyone. My coworkers will get the opportunity to approve my PR once it's in. And I do want to like reiterate, after this, I'm going to spend more time, like I said, editing. And typically I don't just let Goose loose on the documentation and just say like, okay, write some docs and then push and let's go. I like having more control over what I publish myself. So I want to like read through it and make sure everything is correct.
That's awesome. Another like a quick question just in relation to this live stream now, because you mentioned like for you like to write first, because writing, especially technical writing, can both, it helps you understand the feature, but also you're helping other, users and community members understand the new feature too. Have you found anything in your mind with your existing process, like you may change something after today's like stream with like using Goose to do it first? Like any aspect of that workflow?
Yeah, I'll probably use subagents more, to be honest. And I will, I think I would like to get better or be like, start with asking Goose to like do more of like the Git operations for me. Like there is, like I said, a lot of manual things like, okay, I'm still like pulling manually and like changing branches and stuff. And then I will, like run Git status before I do make any commits or PRs to make sure that everything that I want is in there. But I think I can be, for something like that, I can be a little bit more trusting with Goose and just let it do it for me, especially because I am explicit when I'm giving it instructions, like work on this branch, like do this, pull before you make any changes, So I think that would still speed up time for me.
Yeah.
So this is cool. It did show me the full conversation with the subagent. Oh, although it is summarizing it for me. The subagent first did this, and then the subagent did this. Search the code base. That's interesting. I mean, I like that because maybe, the Goose language, Goose talking to Goose is, the high-pitched AI AI speak that humans can't understand. So it has to summarize for me. Okay, and it corrected inaccurate information. That's interesting. I wonder if it will show me.
Question from the chat. If I write first and then ask Goose to enhance it, will it be considered a human or AI generated article? I mean, I'll let Emma answer, but yeah, what do you think? I know my answer.
I would say it's human generated if you wrote it and then you just ask Goose to, I suppose it depends on what enhance means. Like my process is like, oh, this sentence sounds weird. Can you give me some suggestions? And I'm also, when I'm asking it for editing help, I'm asking it for typically, showing me examples in the chat. So like, don't just edit my work, but like, here's a sentence, give me 3 ways to restate it, and then I'll choose what I like, or just like pick and choose words or phrases that I use and like, oh yeah, that's good, I'll put it in. So I certainly think of that as being more human generated. So
yeah, I agree.
That's comfortable for me.
Yeah, because if you're, writing something first, it came from your brain, and then having AI assist you can just be a different way to essentially edit, review, or brainstorm, just a different way of doing it. For sure, if it was the other way around, if you just ask Goose to write everything, it is generated by Goose in that case, but yeah.
Yeah, so the stuff that is created today is Goose generated. And in fact, it did some things that I would not do. Like it made a huge new section for extension control, a massive new section.
Why? I find that interesting. Why
an enormous new section?
Why are the sections getting bigger?
And this specifically is wild because looking at the timeouts and safety limits, we already have some pretty good documentation on that. I think that just needs to be enhanced a little bit. Oh, you made a whole table. You did. Yeah. Yeah. Goose is doing way too much here. Timeouts and safety limits. Like, this is good. Yeah, this is too much. So yeah, I will be spending some time after this editing what Goose created. That's also another tip for writing documentation. I think I did this at first, but then I didn't continue to say, write me some short documentation.
Oh, yeah.
Write me the cliff notes of the documentation.
Oh, that's actually pretty useful. Write me the cliff notes of the documentation, because sometimes, for you, like, you're like, this is your job, you're an experienced technical writer, and so you don't necessarily, like what you mentioned before, what you may use Goose for in your existing workflow for writing, you specifically don't find you need help with your writing. It's the other aspects that you have to deal with as you are writing about these new features. So very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, great. I won't subject people to an editing live stream.
It might take a minute.
But stay tuned for the actual docs that I will be committing and pushing shortly.
Yes, and you can see them for evidence at blog.github.io/goose. That's where all of our docs are at. You can also use this reference, as somebody in the chat mentioned earlier, asked earlier, how can I learn about Goose? You can both use the documentation, or you can use Goose to also take a look at itself and the documentation and point to it. So, yeah. Alrighty.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for joining this live stream.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be able to kind of commentate a little bit. And yeah, happy Halloween to everybody. I know it's not Halloween yet. I was going to put on a mask, and then I realized that maybe that might be, a little too weird on a live stream. So, or scary, I should say.
So.
The antennas are super
Happy
cool.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Let's see. Where is it?